What's up, guys? This is Squid here. This is the DRMB Don't Revive Me Bro podcast. We were back in action after a very long hiatus and a really terrible last podcast. We apologize, Chris and I. It was pretty bad. But we're back in action again with a brand new website thanks to Darren Mooney, Mr. Pixel himself. It is freaking awesome. We love it. We love all the feedback you guys have been giving us on Twitter. It was a great time. And this is podcast number 1. We are freaking stoked. Again, this is Jason Squid here, kind of hosting the show this time with the ever-lovable, always well-known, total legend himself, Mr. DRMB, Chris Red Dragons. Buddy, are you ready to do this?
I am ready. This has been a long time coming. We are DRMB 5.0 at this point.
Yeah.
We're resetting once again for Battlefield 4. We've got, I won't even spoil it. I'm going to let you do the setup. We've got a major force in the Battlefield community on tonight, and we're just ready to do it for Battlefield 4. Tons of things are coming down the pipe. Don'tReviveMeBro.com is where you'll check it all out. So why don't you let us know who's on the podcast today?
All right. Before we go into the podcast, though, we have to give a shout out to our affiliate, Cheap Shark. Thank you so much for sponsoring this podcast. You know, you can compare prices for PC games all across all digital distributors. Sign up for their deal alerts on games that you want. Check them out at cheapshark.com, and we're going to roll right into it after that. We are here with the legendary international man of mystery, man of awesomeness, Alex Goldenboy Mendez. If you don't know who this guy is, he is the pinnacle of awesome. I mean, I've known him for a while. He's one of the coolest guys I know, and he is making a big wave for us in the Battlefield community, kind of bringing a new face, some fresh faces into this place. So, Alex, you there, man? You ready to go? You having fun?
Yeah, I figured out how to work TeamSpeak, so
That's
very
fun.
happy about that. TeamSpeak is evil. No, but yeah, I'm really happy to be on the show. This is my first ever Battlefield 4 like community thing, which is dope because I I do a lot of different things like COD and Halo, and it's cool and everything, but it's good to see that Battlefield has that community, and I witnessed that when I did the E3 stream firsthand. I just saw how the community was so like vocal, so into it. And it's just an absolute honor, and I'm very, very glad to be a part of it. Like, when I tell people I'm a fan of Battlefield, it's not an act. It's not me trying to fit in. No, I'm a legitimate fan of what Battlefield is. And if you guys have been seeing my streams recently, like, I've been playing a lot of BF3 just so I can tide myself over until Battlefield 4. And yeah, I'm really stoked to be a part of it. So thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, no
Absolutely.
problem, man. We're looking forward to this. This is we wanted to get somebody community-wise, something that's fun and entertaining, and they would, definitely want to come on the show. some other people, I don't know, they'd be like, "What the hell's DRMB?" No, but
yeah,
I knew
because
you'd say yes.
a lot of people, like, this is the third big iteration of Battlefield. Like, we went from Bad Company 2, which was on consoles and kind of started to compete against the CODs of the world, and then BF3, and then now BF4. So a lot of people don't really know us. But when I saw you, Alex, at E3 this year, you were just like, "Hey, man, I love Battlefield, love DRMB, Squid's my boy." And I'm just like, "Holy shit! Like, this guy's actually on board." You normally see these COD streams or whatever streams where they hire mouthpieces and that don't know anything about the game. But yeah, dude, you're legit. You're a legit fan.
Well, I can tell you right now. So here's the funny thing. A lot of people know my background, very involved in Call of Duty and now Halo and especially now Battlefield. But the funny thing is that going into that E3 broadcast, see, I was brought on board for the project to host a live stream, and at first I was the only host, and I was a little concerned about it because like, my expertise with Battlefield is not nearly as high as it would be with Call of Duty. So I was a little concerned. Like, Twitch TV had made the connection with me and EA, and then I always wanted to go to E3. So going to E3 was always my my mission, and I ended up I finally got to go to E3, which it sucks that I didn't get to enjoy E3. But I also kind of enjoyed a whole new experience, which was learning about Battlefield. And and really appreciating it. And then when they brought Corey on board, knowing that he was like a hardcore Battlefield fanatic, it really just helped the broadcast as a whole. But the funny part about the start or the first day is, if you watch it, you'll if you go back and watch that first day, you'll notice that like we kind of ran out of things to talk about on the first broadcast. And then I just thought, well, let me try and see if I could reach out to this community, because Corey just, kept on saying about how the community was so intelligent, and how, they're always the guy, like they're always thinking ahead, and they're just very responsive. They're not like Call of Duty guys where it's like, why you mute my snipers or nerf my snipers, and it's not.
You.
Yeah, it's not like that in Battlefield. Like, people have like legitimate just like things, and and a lot of them hate snipers too, which is a great thing. Or at least the people I've interacted with. So in any case, I that's when I decided, all right, well, let's see if we can get the community involved. And then that's when I went to Reddit and I posted on our Battlefield 4, Battlefield_4, posted on there. And then EA was like, dude, that's a freaking brilliant idea. Let's keep on doing this. And then, that's kind of where everything went. So since that time, like, EA was like, okay, well, these guys know community really well, so let's just keep on calling them back. And I'm very glad, because I love working with EA. Like, they're a phenomenal crew. And yeah, it's really cool to just see Battlefield finally take that step into serious, like competitive gaming territory, which is stuff that I'm interested in, which obviously we'll talk about like later, I'm sure. But it's just, there's a lot of cool things with Battlefield 4, and every time I talk about it, it's just legitimate excitement, and I couldn't be more honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, man. I mean, just right there, just like, most people, when you ask them a question about that stuff, they're gonna stutter and take the time to like fill in the blanks of like, well, how do I make it sound like I care? But you could definitely, I mean, that's just you in general, as being a passionate person about anything that has remotely any kind of association to being competitive. But I think in a lot of ways, what's making a lot of people excited is the fact that we're hoping, bunny ears, we're hoping that they figured out all the mistakes they made the first time with Battlefield 3, and they're like, okay, well, maybe this is why we haven't gotten what we wanted, because they were going to pile it all into 4. It kind of dilutes the experience of what Battlefield 3 was. But at the end, if it all is good at the end, when Battlefield 4 comes out, we're not going to remember the bad times.
Yeah.
We're not going to go back to that. So, yeah, man, I mean, going on through this, we just want to know, I guess before we get into the meat of this discussion, and by the way, for those of you that are listening, if you want to ask Alex questions, put it up in the stream or tweet at us at DRMB or at Don't Revive Me Bro, and just use the hashtag DRMBP, P as in Paul. We're gonna find the questions off the search, and we'll ask Alex here later in the show. But we just want to know, how did you get to where you are? Because like, I remember when I first met you, it was a couple years ago, and you were still with The Last Resistance, and you were still doing your Halo thing, and that was when I first kind of got to know you, and that was kind of the beginning of Black Ops 1, and our friendship grew from there. But just kind of give us like a brief synopsis of how you became Goldenboy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. So it's quite a story.
Hey,
Okay.
we're here to listen, man. We're here to listen.
Yeah. Well, if I'm rambling, just feel free to let me know. All right. So
Anyways, we're gonna move on now.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Okay. Well, there we go. Moving on. Okay. So let me see. Well, I was a competitor for a very long time. I would say about 10 years ago or so, I was a competitor, and I mean, I was a very passionate fan of Call of Duty, very much into that. And I always knew that like community was a big deal to me, and making sure everyone was playing nice together and being good, because like I'm a happy dude, I mean, like I do the best I can to not get mad, although working in this business is very hard not to get mad with some of the ignoramus people you meet. But it's great to know that like there are people out there who thought like me, and as a competitor. And then I naturally gravitated toward those people, and then that's when I joined the Last Resistance. Was a team, a competitive team, and we competed in Halo and all that, and it was great. I mean, we were particularly talented. We had a pretty solid performance at one of the I believe it was MLGDC. It was like my first ever Halo tournament. I think I placed like 40th or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. 40 out of like 256 teams is not a it's not a small feat for a Call of Duty kid. So it was great. And as I continued to play, I gravitated away from Halo, went toward Call of Duty Black Ops One, and spent a lot of my time playing that. And again, I was always a competitor. So I competed in like Rainbow Six, Gears of War, Shadowrun, which is one of my favorite games. Halo 2. I mean, man, I competed in so many games. Was I particularly successful in them? Probably not. Was I amazing? No, but I had like this know-how. I wanted to be like a jack of all trades kind of gamer. So then moving on to like when I stopped playing Black Ops, I had gotten an offer to do an Uncharted like commentary because I also won an event out in Raleigh for Uncharted, and winning that event was cool because like I got the game for free and got a couple other little goodies. And then they were like, well, listen, man, you know a decent amount about Uncharted. Why don't you just join us? You're pretty good at talking, so why don't you like join us on commentary? I thought, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And then I end up getting a call like 2 days before the event that the main commentator for Call of Duty Black Ops for the national championships, he couldn't make the event. And then they were just like, well, do you want the job? I was like, fuck yeah, dude, that's insane. But that was the first time I'd ever commentated a national event of that, of that magnitude. And it was pretty wild, But the cool part is, I went into it just thinking, I'm gonna do this once and I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna make, a couple $100 from it, and that's great. What I didn't expect was so many people just liking what I was doing, liking like the things that I was bringing to the table, and then continuing to call me and hire me for more and more gigs. And then I thought, well, one thing I've noticed in gaming in general is that there aren't that many positive voices out there, and and there aren't also that many guys who are Hispanic who work in the gaming. In what I do, at least in esports. Yeah, but no, I don't think it's conspiracy. I just think it's like there aren't that many people who do what I do that are also Hispanic, and I think I speak to that audience that grew up in the inner city and all that stuff. So whenever someone asks me to tell my full story, I tell them the struggle that I had when I was a kid in the Bronx growing up, and family couldn't afford food, and the thing that kept me going was a little Super Nintendo that me and my brother had, that my mom scraped to get us because she wanted to give us anything that she could despite us not having the money. Things like that are just those are the things that inspired me to want to continue to do this. And I've always loved gaming, so I figured, why not just chase this dream. And I kept on getting more calls for gigs and everything like that, and then everything just started to like not spiral out of control, just blossom, just grew to this degree where now I'm, if there's like an event coming up, I don't need to worry about whether or not I'm gonna be able to go. The chances are I'm gonna go. Like it's crazy to think like that. It's crazy to think that I have this capability of being able to work multiple events, and now this is my full-time job. Like this is what I do daily. I do videos for Kotaku. I also will be doing another tournament series for Call of Duty pretty soon, but there's just there's more to it, and it's just wild to think that somehow, some way, the scrappy kid from the Bronx managed to turn this into a full-time gig. So that's the short story, and yeah.
But no, man, I mean, I've watched you pretty much grow into what you are, especially when you and I did the Uncharted event at Providence.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
I
know, dude, that was like probably one of the highlights of my life. Like I still go back and watch that, and literally how fat I look on the freaking screen. I'm like, golly, look, I can gain 20 pounds. but no, man, like I had so much fun doing that. Like you took care of me, and even with Nexi and all the other guys there at MLG, it was a lot of fun, and like I can't wait for my chance to do that again because it's so exciting, and especially doing it with a person that or you kind of, I want to say grew up with, but kind of grew around in terms of this community and how it's kind of, like you said, blossomed in a lot of ways. And yeah, dude, like just watching where you are now, it's just like, yeah, it's cool to know that we all kind of played a part, or we all had our roles, or we all kind of were there to support you as you grew into, who you are now. And the sky's the limits for you, bro. So it's just going to keep going, and that's exciting thing, especially with you being involved with Battlefield now, and it's just, it's only going to get better. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm really
and
excited.
yeah, that's why we, it was very easy to want you on. Us Squid9 in general, but DRMB kind of as a whole don't want to deal with people that are negative and harassing. Like, hey, we could spend a whole show on why Battlefield sucks in general, but nobody wants to hear that. And if they do, I don't really want to be associated with them. So it's nice to have a big positive influence in the community.
Yeah, that's one of my missions. I know that there are. Oh, sorry about that, my phone. I know that there are a lot of people who have their perspective on Battlefield, and like I've been reading comments on YouTube, people saying like, oh yeah, this is Battlefield 3.5, and it's just, if you guys knew like what's going on in the back end, like if those people knew what's going on in the back end with Battlefield 4, you'd know that it is not Battlefield 3.5. It is some pretty crazy stuff that they're doing, and it's quite impressive at the same time. Like that Frostbite 3 engine is no joke, and they, like, it's just, they could do so many things with it. What we're seeing here is just the tip of the iceberg as far as the capabilities of Frostbite 3, and also the, just, I guess, the imagination that DICE has put into this, because it takes a lot of balls to say, yeah, we're gonna have an entire skyscraper fall from the sky in a multiplayer match. Like, haven't seen many people do that, like, if at all. I mean, Call of Duty Ghosts, they have their dynamic things where like a wall would explode, and that's cute, but like, I mean, nothing of that magnitude. And the crazy part about it is it's not destruction for destruction's sake, to create imbalance, which is some pretty crazy stuff. Like, talking with these guys, balance is everything with them. Like, they just want to make sure that they're going to be putting out this game that not only people are going to enjoy playing, but also can survive in a competitive space as well, with the things that they put in, like Levolution and all that. And as much as that's a dumb name, it's still you really can't get the topic across. Like, Levolution really is exactly, it is exactly the phrasing to use, because you are evolving the level. Like, it's some pretty cool stuff. So
Yeah.
So Pokemon is what you're trying to tell us.
What happened?
Essentially, it's Pokemon for Battlefield.
It's Pokemon for maps, bro. It's like, that's just how it is.
So, like, this is such a vague question, but hopefully you'll go someplace that we don't really expect. Like, everybody's saying, Battlefield 3.5 or one big patch, and the three of us have played it, and it is quite a bit different. Like, yeah, it's based in roughly the same time, roughly the same player models, but that's kind of where the comparison ends. Well, what do you think is the biggest difference? Like, not really improvement, but the biggest difference between BF3 and BF4?
Well, I can tell you right now, like, all the destruction, like the Levolution and stuff like that, that is happening server side, right? It's not happening in the game. So that is in itself a pretty big thing, because we're talking about multiple games going on at the same time that are going to have the skyscraper fall, or the water, the leaf be destroyed. Like, everything's happening server side. And that is when I found out about it, because the reason why I know about that is because I asked them, I was like, do you guys plan on putting a LAN in the game? They were like, we can't. And I was like, why not? You can always put LAN in a game. Like, is it some EA thing? And they were just like, no, because the Levolution stuff all happens server side. It's all, like, if we do LAN, then the building won't be able to collapse, and then the storm won't happen. Like, because that's just the immense power, like, that it's going to take. Like, like a PC can't handle it on its own to process all of that.
Well, yeah, and if you're lagging, one guy's skyscraper is going to be dropping slower than the next guy with this ultimate rig.
Exactly. Exactly. And so like to have everything happen at the same time, have everyone see the same exact thing, it's a pretty hefty task, and they're able to make that happen. It kind of, blows me away. So that just is like one of the aspects that is very different. But then another element that I think is particularly interesting, one thing that kind of separates it is how they kind of, if you look at it, right, like a lot of the models and everything, they're all kind of based on Battlefield 3. But I don't expect, like, if someone is seriously complaining about the models being based off of BF3, then how come Call of Duty can get away with it, with
Yeah.
using a Quake 4 engine that has been outdated for 6 years now?
I,
Like,
I
those are
find
the
it so
things.
funny. They complain about that. Call of Duty is. I won't spend tons of time on this, but it's been so trashed to death that nobody even makes fun of it anymore because everybody knows what they're gonna get. Oh, everything's
Yeah,
exactly the same. Cool. But no,
yeah, and
BF3. You guys have the same guns in BF3 and BF4. Boycott.
yeah,
I'm
and I
canceling
think
my
that,
pre-order.
like, a lot, yeah, and I think it's a little ridiculous.
I quit.
Yeah. I think it's a little ridiculous, and I'm very glad that they've put in a couple of new things into it. Again, I think that they could have very well patched in expansion and called it BF4, but this game. One, if you're looking at the stream, you can clearly see the visual fidelity. It's there. It's ridiculous. You know, the way that they've changed battle log to it. Sorry, god damn it. The way that they changed battle log to it's insane. Like this is a full on, like, this is the Battlefield that they wanted to create. Battlefield 3, they were limited by the things that they could do with next gen, with current gen. Honestly, when you really think about it, because when they're designing a game, they have to design it for not only the PC players, but they also have to design it for the console audience as well. And one of the reasons why Battlefield has never really taken off in the console space is because of the fact that the game is not what you play on PC. Like, all the time in reviews, you hear people say, yeah, Battlefield 4 is great on PC, or Battlefield 3 is great on PC, but it's not really that great on console because this and this and this and this are hampered. And that's something that, like, DICE is fully aware of, and now, like, they've addressed it. And I had a chance to play BF4 on the PS4, which, you say that 5 times fast, and it's dude, it was like I could play this all freaking day. And not again, not because I'm working on it, not because I broadcast or host their live streams. No, it's insanely fun. And at the same event, I played COD Ghosts, and I'm a diehard Call of Duty guy, but Call of Duty Ghosts just didn't have that oomph to me. There was something missing about it. But when I picked up the sticks and played BF4 on the PlayStation 4, I was glued right away. And I only had one session with it, and I begged and pleaded if I can get another one, because I really, really
You
just
know
wanted,
who I
like,
am?
it felt amazing. Yeah, Daniel Matros just straight up was like, "No, bro, you're gonna have the GTFO." I was like, "Why, Daniel?" But yeah, it's insane. It really is cool, and I'm so glad that they're starting to treat the platforms equal. There are 64, players on console, and unfortunately, the current gen consoles, the current gen versions are going to suffer. But that's, come November, none of that's really going to matter. So I think that's the way DICE is kind of looking at it too. Again, this isn't me speaking for them. This is what I would perceive it to be, because it's like, why focus on this next gen or this current gen console that limits the capabilities of the game when we could just, focus on next gen and have everything be hunky dory and all PC like, So, and a lot of people also, like, I watched a video on IGN. One of the guys was like, he had said that the visuals on the next gen version didn't look nearly as good as PC. And I mean, I don't know what that guy was playing, because that was not the case when I played. The
Okay.
game looked just as good as it did on the PC than it did on PS4. It looked almost identical to me. I mean, and again, see, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to go out there and look for every blade in the grass and see how it looks. Like, I really don't give a crap about that kind of stuff. But when I look at it, I'm like, well, fuck, this game looks great to me. I'm down with it. Like, I don't know anyone who's going to be like, man,
the pixels in the PC version are a lot better than the pixels in the PC. I'm not buying the PC. I'm
How
not
did
buying
he
the game
suddenly
at all.
become an Italian American? You know?
That's just how they sound to me. That's how trolls sound to me, honestly.
Everybody's
So,
got
yeah.
their troll voice.
Yeah, I completely
that's what I
agree with
think.
you on that. So, yeah, it's one of those things where I think that it's more about just building a community rather than saying, "Oh, well, ours is better." Too bad, you know. It is what it is. Yes, the PS3 version and the Xbox version suffered in terms of Battlefield 3 to the PC version, but look, at the end of the day, PC version was still the least amount played. I mean, you got to realize those two consoles absolutely obliterated it in terms of player base. So you gotta accommodate to all of them. You gotta realize,
Yeah.
like, if you're gonna keep this game alive and keep it going, you need to do that.
And I know that there are a lot of PC guys out there that are going to be so against what I'm about to say, but the fact is that first person shooters are just more popular on console.
Yeah, I
Period.
mean, yeah,
If you
Because
look at the
it's-
numbers, they
Yeah,
don't
and it's
lie.
the ultimate pick up and play. You can go from starting the console to shooting someone in the face in like 5 minutes.
yeah.
You know, you got two
Yeah.
sticks, everybody's on the same page, doesn't matter how fast your computer is. It's just easier, and
Yeah,
that's always
well, because if you look at it, right, like what's like the most popular PC game right now? League of Legends. And League of Legends does not require a beefy PC to play on. It doesn't. You could play League of
Yeah.
Legends on almost anything.
Mhm.
But if you want to
Potatoes.
play Battlefield, yeah, you could play it on two potatoes wired into a monitor for all you want. You know, like you could do that. You know, like that's how probably not. You won't get far. But seriously though, the thing is, with the way that they're designing these games, they know that the PC audience is out there, but the money is going to be made on the console front. And again, it's not a knock on PC. You know, I get the argument. Shooters are better on PC because of keyboard and mouse. And you know what? I'm not going to disagree with that. I mean, I played a crap ton of BF4 on the PC at E3 and Gamescom, and my shot was like untouchable. Like I was just tearing these kids apart. Like these poor German kids had no idea what was coming at them.
Was ist das?
Because you know the hurricane was coming in worse than Parasol Storm. Like let's just put it like that. Like, and I was the hurricane. It was some wild stuff, but it's just the audience, they're more receptive on console. And like you said, you pick it up, you play, you're ready to go. There is no like, you know, oh man, my graphics card, you know, isn't all that great. Like I want to play BF4 on PC. Like people ask me constantly on Reddit, they ask me on Twitter, or when BF4 beta launches, are you going to play on PC? And like, I can't because my PC isn't good enough, but I could play it on console with no problem whatsoever. Just need my Elgato, snap, boom, and I'm good to go. Like that's just, you know, and it's unfortunate, but again, it's the nature of the beast, you know. Visual fidelity and how great the game looks and all that stuff, it's awesome. It's phenomenal. Like BF4 looks amazing, but if I can get a 90% experience on my console, I think I'll be okay with that. You know, and I think that there are a lot of other people that will share that same sentiment. But and it's shown too because it'll be BF3 numbers, despite the fact that the game is running 30 frames per second and didn't look nearly as good as the PC version. People just want to get their Battlefield on.
Yeah, it was just
know?
easier. It was just straightforward, and I mean, I remember looking at the statistics. I don't remember what it's called, but I think it's like Battlefield Stats or something like that. Like there was like millions of people more playing on the Xbox and the PS3, and the PS3 was slightly higher than the Xbox, but only by like a couple thousand. But there was like a disparaging gap between the two. This is just because, like you said, the accessibility of it, and it's going to be even weirder now because of the transition into next gen. Because you're going to have a lot of people playing on the old consoles, and then more people playing on the new consoles, and then you're going to have all the PC gamers, and it's going to be like this weird kind of like mix at first. And then I guess over time we'll realize where the majority of people are playing. But yeah, I mean, I guess before we transition into, you know, asking you about your experience with specifically the PS4, but I mean, is there anything else pertaining to what you saw, maybe for a person who hasn't really got to play it and have only seen videos, like what the differences in the way the game plays, and like is there a difference? I mean, Chris and I have played it. We could give our opinion, but we want yours as, you know, like the guest, so to speak. We want to get your opinion on it.
Well, what you're looking at right now on the stream is my kick-ass gameplay, where I pretty much just, you know, poopy on kids on Obliteration on Parasol Storm, just so you know. I mean, like the
Shameless
amount
plug.
of I just dude, I just opened up a can and it wasn't labeled whoop ass, it was kick ass, and I was just destroying kids, and I cooked it for them and everything. It was awesome. All right, so how did it feel? So let's put it like this: when I've played Battlefield 3 a lot on Xbox to know now that like the differences between both of them, and I can tell you right now that the a few of the mechanics in BF4 feel like greatly improved. You know, for one, sprinting doesn't feel like a getaway mechanic like it does in Battlefield 3. Like in Battlefield 3, I could just straight up like sprint like around a corner and like get away from someone instantly. Um and that I've done that quite a bit, especially on Conquest Domination. Um but then when I played on BF4, I noticed that, and you can actually see in the animation when they run, their initial sprint speed is not as fast. It's almost as if they pick up speed, or especially if they're holding like a rifle, right? If they're holding a pistol, I feel like you maintain a sprint speed a little bit faster. They're like, or a little bit quicker, like you run quicker. But if you're holding a rifle, there's a bit of a 1, 2, 3 step. Okay, now I'm running full speed. And I noticed a couple times, if I wanted to run away around the corner, I was going to get punished for it if the guy still had his aim on me, because I still had that little slower step. And this is something I noticed, and I don't know if this is the case or not. It's just, it feels a tad bit slower when I'm going to enter the sprint mode. So yeah, and then the other thing is, as you saw on the screen, like I went for the knife, and the guy countered me, and went for that one. And a lot of people were, and a lot of people were complaining about that. But the thing is, you can't spam F. You really cannot. Like when
so they changed that. Is it at E3? It was like that. You could easily just spam F, and you'd probably get away with it.
What I noticed is, if you, as soon as you saw F pop up, like hit F to counterattack, if you hit F, you were gonna get it, right? Yeah. But I noticed in my sessions, if I kept on hitting F, it just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, it kind of canceled itself out. Yeah.
Yeah, which is weird. I again, this could just be me and my lack of knowledge of a keyboard, but it did feel like if I went and as soon as I saw F, I started hitting F, I wouldn't do it. But if I hit it one time, I got the counter knife. So Again, I'm not sure if this is something that's going to make it into the beta build, but it is something I noticed. And the crazy thing is that they're constantly like improving it, because the build that I played at E3, especially with Spectator, was completely different from the build that I experienced at Gamescom. I mean, like, it was just night and day. E3 build felt a little bit more like BF3 0.5. The Gamescom build felt more like BF4. It just felt better. I truly don't know why, but yeah, so that's just the little things I noticed with it. I don't know if it's certain or not, but with the counter knifing thing, but I definitely do feel like it is it is an improvement.
Good, yeah, because at E3, like, you could easily get away with it. I mean, if you saw the animation coming, you just spam F and you could counter knife the guy.
Yeah, and bunny hopping you can't do anymore. You
know
how, like, people try and like jump around the corner like a fucking idiot to try and get the knife. I'm sorry for the cursing, because it's so freaking frustrating. You can't do that. You just can't do that in BF4, because your hops get shorter and shorter and shorter.
Yeah, so, that's good.
You can't do it.
You got to work on those box jumps to get your guys'.
Yeah, you actually have to be near them to knife them. You know, like, I'm sorry about that, bunny hoppers. I hate those people so much.
I know.
I'm one of those people. It's a disease. You get into it and you see other people do it. You're like, I gotta do that too.
Yeah,
I fall into that.
The thing is, I have a scuff, so I probably could do it, but I don't know if I'm that much of a d-bag like Squid to do it. You know, like I could probably get away with it. But oh man, but yeah, I believe, because when you jump while running, your jump's actually a little bit it's lower, and then it gets like lower and lower, and then the jumps actually get shorter as time goes. You can't just like go crazy with it.
Now, I did notice at E3, like, the vaulting was a lot better than like the timing. Like if you were good at timing that kind of stuff out, like you could just continuously run across a map and cause havoc. Have they updated that at all? Is it still pretty much the same, or is there any differences
I think
in
they
that?
wanted. I think it's still the same. They wanted you to maintain your speed
Yeah.
throughout. Vaulting has been a pretty good mechanic, but the thing about vaulting I notice is there's about like maybe a point 0.3 delay in when you actually have that reactive moment, and that point 0.3 second could be the difference maker in a close range battle.
Yeah.
So there's a short delay, but you can really run through the entire map and just cause like havoc throughout
Yeah.
the entire thing. You can do that. I mean, I did it. I mean, I won't lie. Like I just, if I see someone, I'm like, well, I'm chasing this mofo, and I just run and I'm like lunging over things. But if the guy was to my side and I wanted to get that turn, quickly, I wasn't going to be able to respond quick enough because it was going to be like that slight little delay. And if the guy saw me, he was going to be able to take me out before I can actually respond back. But that was the instance of whether or not the guy was to my left or right. That didn't happen all that much. So for the one time that it did, that's what I noticed.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, Chris, you got any other questions before we moved on to the next cool
Yeah,
topics?
for sure. I'll for anybody that's not on the live stream, they're kind of tweeting us with the hashtag. One guy, I don't know how much you've experienced this because the game's reset every time, but do you know anything about the ranking system in BF4?
In
That's any different?
in what way? Like how it's going to work?
Yeah.
So what I know is that it's going to work pretty much like it did in BF3. I don't know if they're going to have like the commander ranks. I don't know if that was talked about. I think that's what it is, the commander ranks. I haven't gotten to that rank yet, so I don't know. Like their like I guess your version of prestiges.
Mhm.
So I haven't experienced that yet. I mean, all the classes were pretty much just, they were free. Like you had full access to every single weapon, so there wasn't really all that much. But the ranking seemed pretty similar to what you'd expect out of a XP progression based game.
Yeah.
So yeah, it didn't really seem much of a difference to me.
And we got one
Yeah.
more question while we're on the commander. Somebody was asking how the commander is chosen. Is it before the map, or is it by the highest ranking person?
That was something that I asked the guys at EA multiple times about, because it was something that we wanted to talk about on the live stream, because we got that question a lot. And unfortunately at that time at Gamescom, EA did not have an answer for it. It's interesting because the way that they made it seem like to me was it's going to be a person who's in good standing, right? So for example, I think if a guy
not
like,
a douchebag.
yeah, I think like if a guy was, like a team player, more of an objective based guy, I would imagine that he'd probably get access to commander mode before the guy who had a bunch of kills but did not contribute to objective at all. Or the guy who got like 1 or 2 kills and didn't even push the objective.
So did you ever play Mag?
So
was it a lot? Is it a lot like that in a way?
Yeah, I played Mag.
Mag.
I played Mag. Mag was awesome. Whoa, you slow your row.
Yeah,
Mag
Mag was great game.
256 players. No,
It was ridiculous, but it was still fun.
It was a lot of fun.
And what's funny is that most of the battles weren't even 256 players. It was like, 28 on 28. What the fuck is this shit? Like, it was just so stupid. Yeah. Okay, so let me see. Mag, it wasn't the way that I'm imagining they're gonna do it is it's something that you're eventually gonna have to earn through credibility and also through progression. I don't think you're gonna be like level 1 and have access to commander mode. But I think like if you are of a decent rank, could be something that gets unlocked, and there could be a couple algorithms that go into place. I do know that commander mode will not be available for the beta. That I was actually confirmed by my friends at EA. I had asked them because I was drafting up an article for Kotaku, and I put up the article already, and they sent that to me. So I figured I'd just give it to you guys. But yeah, I don't know if they've confirmed it, but yeah, Commander mode will not be in the beta, and Spectator mode will, I think, not be in the beta either. I'm not actually no. I think Spectator mode might be for PC only. It definitely won't be for the current gen consoles. Spectator mode will not be there for the current gen consoles.
It's just the Master Race, then. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, until the next gen comes around, and then we could, pretty much just say, haha, screw you. So yeah. But I do know that I spoke to my friends at EA, and they mentioned to me that I'm gonna do a big Battlefield live stream when the beta goes live, and
we'll be tweeting that out.
Yeah, and I will be playing Commander mode on that stream because they'll give me access to it. It's only going to be EA employees that have Commander mode access.
Okay.
Yeah, from the start. And I asked them, I was like, "Yo, can I get Commander mode access?" And they were just like, "Yeah, sure. Let's see what we can do." So I'm hoping, but that seems to be where it is right now with that.
Yeah,
Cool,
and I
man.
heard one thing, you'll be able to join servers as commander. So if there's a commander spot open, you can play it as a
Yeah, I
regular
heard that
soldier
too.
or
I
whatever.
heard that
So
too.
that's an interesting
If
idea.
the options presented to you, you can do it.
Yeah.
From what I understand, but again, it's they've been super vague on it. They have not been very open to how Commander mode works. So I'm just not sure.
It's an interesting mini game. I don't know if I'd spend tons of time on it. Everyone else is having fun shooting people, and I'm like, go to B. Why aren't you going to B? But I checked it out, and it was fun at E3. There was it's very satisfying to kill 2 tanks and 6 people on the ground in one missile strike. But yeah, hopefully it works out.
I saw something on the chat from ZGNTX. He said, "Can you be a commander and be a player?" And no, you can't. I know that because you are logged in through your battle log. Now, if you want to be one of those guys who has 2 accounts and leveled both of them up, which just to experience this tablet playing second screen player crap, you probably could, but it's locked to your battle log account, so you can't do it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okie doke. Well, moving on here so we don't take up too much of your awesome legendary time. There you go, Dash.
Stop using that word. I'm fine, dude. I'm here for you guys. Just let me know.
But no, I just want to. I mean, Chris and I, we were at E3, and obviously we were talking to you there. But I mean, we played the PS3. But again, we want to get your perception on it. And for those of you who don't know, Alex is one of the biggest diehard Sony fans that I know. When I was out tweeting stuff about Sony games, everybody else was bagging on me. He was the guy that came in and defended me every time, especially when it had anything to do with Uncharted. When everybody's gonna give me a hard time about that, but
don't talk crap about Uncharted. Don't taunt me, bro.
But yeah, man. Just give us your breakdown on the PS4, specifically the controller. That's the thing that I think a lot of people are gonna want to know.
Yeah. The controller for the controller for PS4 is amazing. It really is shocking how good they designed this, because when they put out the DualShock 3 for the PS3, I was like, shooters are gonna suffer on this platform again, and I was right. Shooters did in fact suffer on the platform, but dude, I mean, it's just it's night and day. You will never want to go back and play a PS3 with the DualShock ever again. The DualShock 3, that model, that style. I am so glad it's gone. The sticks felt great. It was they had a good mixture, right? So instead of it being completely concave and convex, right, which I guess is the term, instead of it being like that, you actually had the ability to not the ability, but you actually had this groove, right? This groove that flowed real nice, and if you're one of those players that plays using the the center of the sticks, you're really gonna benefit from it, because the grip that you get from it is awesome. And I've played with the Xbox One controller, and I've also played with the PS4, and I like the Xbox One controller. I think it's great, but I would prefer the Xbox 360. I feel as if the Xbox One controller was not a necessary upgrade in regards to how the controller was designed. But with the Xbox 360, it was the perfect FPS controller. Like it's great. Now the PS4 is bordering in that territory. The only difference, obviously, is the stick placement. And the PS4 controller, as crazy as it sounds, it does not feel like you need the sticks to be placed where the D-pad is. It feels so natural. And I couldn't quite put my finger on why this feels like it's flown like butter. I just don't know. It was awesome. And the triggers were great too, because the triggers now have these hooks for the L2 and R2. They have these like hooks at the bottom. So instead of it being like that smooth curve that you had for the PS3 controller, you now have this like it's flatter. It's much flatter. It goes the opposite way, right? It's curved out inward, and you have that hook. So your fingers are always going to stay on that controller. Or on those buttons. It feels great. At first, it took some getting used to, though, because I'm used to playing PS3 shooters with the L1R1. But then as soon as you get used to it, which took me no more than 2 minutes, and then made the switch over, you realize like this is clearly a much more improved device than what they went for. And again, I feel like in regards to who won the controller wars, man, I got to tip my hat to Sony, because they completely changed the design, while Microsoft, they just did not need to. It wasn't necessary. Is it a bad controller? No, it just wasn't necessary, you know? So yeah, PS4 was great. And I by mistake, I hit the share button because I went to hit select. There's no select button. And the way that you check your score is by clicking into the touchpad, because you can click into the touchpad. You can also do gestures with it. I did not know of the spotting, how spotting was going to work, but then I learned that it was actually the L1 button. So yeah,
L1.
so yeah, you spotted with was it? Let me see. You spotted with L1. Yeah, you spotted with L1 or R1. One of those. I think it actually was R1. You spotted, and then you threw grenades with L1. I think. Okay. I could be wrong, but I remember doing that, and because I had asked him, I was like, "How the hell do you spot?" And he said it was one of the trigger buttons. So yeah, there was it was really cool. Like, and again, game looked awesome, so it didn't really affect anything. Like, you know, my experience wasn't hampered because the blades of grass didn't look more real than on the PC version. 60 frames Battlefield on console was a dream, and going back to play BF3 was kind of like, wow, I can't believe people actually put up with this shit, because this is insane. Like, yeah. And the PS4 version really is like a superior build. It was fun. Really fun.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. One question you mentioned, like chucking grenades. Did they, on the last one you played, did they make it less heavy yet? Is everything I'm watching, the grenades, like your guy just chucks them and they go like 10 feet.
Yeah, the grenades, they are heavy. They are heavy. I will tell you that much. Like, I can clearly tell that they didn't want Call of Duty syndrome to happen, which if you ever played in a pro match or seen a professional match, you'll know that like people, they just lunge grenades like over 8 buildings. And granted, you know, yeah, you probably can't do that in real life, but for the sake of balance, I think they were like a little bit heavier. You don't get the range that you would in a game like Call of Duty, or it feels a little more Halo-like, because Halo, the grenades, they go far, but they don't, especially in Halo 4, they go far, but they don't go like, you know, Call of Duty distance, right? And this game kind of feels a little bit more like that, a little bit similar.
Okay. Kind of mentioning Halo, we had a really good question from Dirk Deadeye on Twitter. He says, "Why are so many big box first-person shooters big box first-person shooter titles obsessed with esports?" I know this is something you guys are both very passionate about, so I'll let you guys
slow your roll, bro.
Argue about it.
Yeah. So, let me before I answer that, I just saw something in the chat real quick about people complaining about L1 R1 shooting versus L2 R2. I'm telling you guys right now, you will never notice the difference. You're going to notice it for like 5 minutes, then you're going to get over it, and then you're going to be like, oh yeah, this does feel better. Trust me. You
Yeah,
guys
I
are gonna
agree.
like it. It's gonna
I
be
agree with that.
okay. And from what I know, I asked the guys at Dice if they had intentions of putting a legacy button, like, old school, I guess is like what I had called it for like PS3 users. They said they weren't sure yet, but there certainly was a possibility to have it in there. I guess we'll find out. But again, it felt natural as hell. So anyway, going on to what you were talking about esports, right? So this is a question that I think has multiple layers to it, where you have to take in consideration that these developers now are all trying to figure out what's going to be the new thing, right? What's going to be the thing that sells their game. And, you can't count on graphics anymore because every game looks freaking amazing, right? Battlefield 4 looks great. Even COD Ghost looks good. The new Halo 4 looks great. I mean, all these first person shooters, the graphics are pretty sound. So you can't really say like our game looks better, that's why you need to buy it. And I think that the reason why a lot of these developers are gravitating toward competitive gaming is because they realize that the audience, that hardcore audience, they're not the kind of people that are going to complain about the things that don't matter, like quick scoping, and why is this not why isn't my C4 exploding quicker? Like they're the competitive players, they care about the balance. They care about how the game operates because balance is fun. While all out carnage can be fun, it's fleeting fun. It doesn't last. But balance, when a game is balanced and has that presence to it, has that stability to it, it can serve for a much longer time. And the competitive audience, they understand that. They know that balance is key. So that's why they're really not catering the games to these people, but they're taking their opinions and their community a lot more serious than it was in the past. Back then when we would ask, Treyarch in Black Ops 1, hey, why isn't this here? Like, this gun is really overpowered. Like, they never changed like the FAMAS from Black Ops 1. It was the most overpowered weapon in competitive play. Every single player used the FAMAS because it served the purpose of being an objective weapon with high rate of fire and also had good long range play. It was a severely unbalanced weapon. And when David Vonderhaar came and saw, he's like, why is everyone using the same gun? They use this gun. And everyone was like, no, because it's not good. Because you're not listening to the audience that actually dives deep and really dissects every single detail of the game. We did that, and we've concluded that the FAMAS is a better weapon. So what did he do for Black Ops 2? He actually saw that there's room to make the assault rifles more valuable, the SMGs more valuable. That was like the mission that they had to go with. And DICE, they're also looking at that same thing. So they went to the people who have played the game for such a long time, the popular YouTubers out there, guys like Dasgro, for example, who would really understand the game. And he would, like he told me, like he would talk to them about, like how the game plays and all that stuff. And they also looked at their statistics, and they're doing the best they can to make sure that no one weapon is overpowered and every gun kind of just has like this purpose. And again, that comes from talking to an audience that understands it. And esports, for those who do not like it, esports is that audience. And then what do you do from there? How do you continue to satisfy this audience? Well, you give them tools that they could use to showcase your game, because essentially what esports is, it's free promotion for your product, right? When Major League Gaming hosts, before they struck their deal with Activision, they host a Call of Duty event. That's promotion for Activision. That's promotion for the developer, right? That they don't have to spend money on because this company is going to do it for them. When you look at the same thing with Battlefield, there are going to be so many people that are going to go out there and host tournaments for Battlefield. They're going to host tournaments. They're going to promote it. They're going to have muscle behind it. They're going to have these companies that are going to be promoting it as well, saying, hey, guys, tune into this live stream. And what game are they going to be playing? They're going to be playing Battlefield. Yeah. That's all promotion for them. It's free promotion. So it makes sense that they're going to embrace this model because it's I mean, you can look at Riot. Riot, they kick complete ass. Like their LCS is going on right now, pulling viewership numbers that I are unreal viewership numbers that you'll see with sporting events. And
I don't understand that game. It's so
I
old.
mean, I don't
It's like
either.
10 years old.
I don't either, but it's just. But here's the thing about Riot, right? It was something that started small, and then they realized, like, okay, let's actually take advantage of this, and let's start to build something around it. And now more developers are starting to realize that, and then you have some developers who come in and try and force their way, and it just doesn't work. But what DICE is doing is they're not launching Battlefield 4 and saying, yes, and we're going to have the Battlefield 4, gaming league and, the BF4 league and everyone's going to compete. They're not saying that. They're like, hey, guys, here's this tool that you could use. It's called spectator mode. We think it'll be fun. Have at it.
What if they, and just follow with me, what if they announce, like, say, a tournament where you win $1 million and you have to play on an island somewhere?
I mean, I'm down to go. If they let me commentate it, I'll be there for it.
Do you remember that Virgin tournament they announced?
Yeah. So the Virgin
disappeared.
The Virgin thing, I think, was a combination of Virgin not being prepared for what it was, and DICE. It was just miscommunication. Honestly, I think that's really what the Virgin tournament was, and unfortunately, they're still kind of feeling that to this day, because when you mention Battlefield and esports in the same breath, they're like, "Oh yeah, like the Virgin tournament," and it's like,
Low
I loved Alex's dude bro accent. Oh, you mean like the Virgin tournament?
Because the dude bros are what I deal with, man.
So how does the spectator mode work? Like, are you able to go into any server and just spectate that server?
I think if the option is allowed, you can.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. So I could just go server hopping and just start casting games.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is there a limit on the spectator? Is it only one?
That I don't know. I think it's just the one, or they're like two people.
Okay.
I think
that'd be really cool. You kind of eliminate the need to go to something else. You just go find the server and jump in and watch. Like in game.
Yeah.
Like,
it
it
could
keeps
be,
you.
It could be limited to the server.
Yeah.
It could be like however the server
easier.
wants it. Yeah. I think that's how it's working. Again, I don't know, because those aren't things that I was wondering about. I'm just like, all right, spectator mode's in the game. Fuck it, I'm good. Like I was very happy about that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty neat. We're hoping to do some big things with that in the future. It'd be really nice having somebody not having to play the game and stream at the same time. You could just hop in, and you got a favorite YouTuber, hop in and watch them instead of, teabagging them and stabbing them over and over. But
so what happens to you all the time when you get in
pretty
there?
much. Every time I put those DICE friend tags on, I just get jumped.
It's messed up.
There's
man.
like 50 guys chase. Like literally, it's like you just play the Benny Hill song in the background. And there's like 50 guys chasing Chris across the map.
Well, some guy in chat's like, put on those DICE tags. Okay, whatever. Take my tags, come and get them, whatever. Running in the middle of a field, stabbed in the back. Okay, there's foxholes apparently.
Yeah, it's like a trapdoor spider just pops out in the middle. Yeah, I totally see that coming. But anyways, as we kind of try to roll down or wind down this podcast, we don't want to keep too much of your time, man. And we just want to, I guess, before we continue on, we just really appreciate you coming out, Alex, and being a part of this, being a part of the reboot, the revive of what DRMB stood for. And we definitely wanted to have you come on because we're all about community, and we want to make sure that everybody's having a good time and is happy, and really kind of pushes this game forward. And because that kind of suffered during Battlefield 3, and there was a big disparaging gap between BC2, and hopefully we can change that for Battlefield 4. So we really appreciate it, man. You've made our day by coming out and doing the podcast with us.
I mean, I'm very happy to have been a part of it. Obviously, I wish I knew more. But there, as a host, I can only ask so many questions and get away with it. I'm just glad that DICE has been so receptive to me just like asking a bunch of questions and them actually answering them for me. I mean, it's pretty cool to see like a developer be so open about their product. Because when I initially accepted the job with them, I was a little concerned. I was like, oh man, it's EA. I've heard stories about them, man. And it's very nice to see that there is a like it's not robots. They're humans. They're really funny humans who who just love the community. They love what Battlefield stands for, and they're just working to make it even better. And I can tell you guys right now that, like, I mean, I don't know if you guys want to talk about this, but the vision that Daniel Matros has for competitive Battlefield,
Oh
it's
yeah,
it's pretty cool. Pretty cool
yeah,
stuff.
it's pretty amazing how I don't know if he just like well, I know he's always sponsored teams and he's been a part of it, and it's just like I guess that drive or that loud voice that came about during Battlefield 3. I don't think it was as prominent in BC2, but when Battlefield 3 really took the stage and that whole like let's beat COD mentality was just forced into our skulls, I think it really brought that voice forward where people were like, "Hey, if you're gonna tell us we're gonna do this, let's do it." And I'm glad he picked up on that and is really pushing that. But yeah, I mean, if
Yeah.
I guess to end the show or something, if that's something you want to focus on, let's do it. If you want to talk about like that, their vision on those kind of things, whatever you can say, not putting words in his mouth. But I mean, it's your floor, man.
Yeah, well, so what I know is the build that I played at E3 for the PS4 version was a 5v5 conquest domination, which is now just called domination. 3 plot objective, and it was dynamic spawns in the map. So you did not have like a random spawn system like you do in Conquest Domination. It's you can actually control where your opponent spawns. And if you're a competitive player, that's like music to your ears, because that means that there's going to be a method, a way to approach the map. And we played on the main island of Parasol Storm. Don't know how it's going to work for other maps, but it worked phenomenally for Parasol Storm. You could pick any class you wanted. Some classes were more useful than others, obviously, but a lot of them did serve their purpose. Now, the cool part about this is, I've been giving him a lot of tips on the spectator mode. And one of the ideas that I had for it was to have, in the 5v5 situations, have each individual player on the sides of the screen, similar to what you will see in Counter-Strike, with their health bar, with their health and all that. And that's actually something that they are going to put, from what I understand from my conversations with him. I think he even made it public on the live stream, but not a lot of people caught it. It's something he wants to do. He wants to make it so that you're getting clear information as to what is being done with like, or as to how the players are, doing health wise. And it really like cool stuff, right? They do kind of want to focus on the smaller form combat. It's, I think it's easier for the viewer to understand, and they're making the maps so that it can cater to that audience. They're definitely not going to ignore the large scale audience. Obviously, that's the meat of Battlefield. But for the competitive aspect of it, they really want to see that kind of thing happen, that direction for it. Now, is it going to be that way? I don't know, but I think as more people try to host and do these events, they're going to realize, like, yeah, 24 versus 24 really isn't the easiest thing to show to viewers, and it's not grabbing viewership. You can't build meaningful storylines that way, because it's also a large portion of what esports is, right? It's building storylines and things that people are going to be interested in, to watch, because they're going to be fans of said team. They're going to be fans of a certain player. And it's very hard to be fans of a player when the matchup is 24 on 24, or as ridiculous of a number as you could think of. So I think that they're really going to try and focus on that small form competitive aspect and see how that goes. And the game types that I know he's going to be focusing on is diffuse as well as domination. And the game type where that health bar thing is going to be shown will be diffuse. So diffuse is the, to put in layman's terms, the S&D version for Battlefield. Don't know how it's going to operate, because I didn't get a chance to play it. The build wasn't there at Gamescom. I almost had a chance, but then they realized they didn't have the build there. but it's, you know, Daniel Matros is like, this is what I think is going to work out. This is what I think people are going to enjoy when they think about competitive Battlefield. And it's just great to know that there's like a sandbox that can allow that. So again, there's a lot of cool stuff that I think, you know, the EA guys and the DICE guys or mainly the DICE guys are going to be doing. They're working very hard to make this game like the when you think like, oh man, I totally remember my launch day, the launch of my PS4. Yeah, man, you remember when I picked up Battlefield 4 when we played that for like 10 hours straight? Like that's the experience that they want to go for. They want to be that glue that you guys think about when you think next gen. And you know, with the way that they're building it, it could very well be the case. So, you know, we'll see what happens, but there's a lot of cool things there, you know, and I think it's safe to go with the domination and diffuse route as opposed to trying to get too crafty with it and create like game types that people aren't going to watch. There's simple game types that people will understand, and it's great. And spectator mode is really going to allow that to be shown in a very healthy light for anyone who's a fan of just competitive gaming. So we'll see what happens. I know that I'll be there every step of the way doing what I can to support the scene, and I'm just glad to finally be a part of it.
Awesome, dude. Yeah, I mean, everything you share with us today is like, this is top-notch quality stuff that, I mean, is really going to help. I mean, we just gotta build. I mean, people think that this community is so well established, and in reality, it's not. I mean, like I said, it took that dip in Battlefield 3, and I think these kind of things, this whole like DICE being open about stuff and showing these things early and not leaving people out in the cold. I mean, it's gonna be freaking awesome. I cannot wait for next Tuesday. I mean, this is gonna be next Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tuesday,
yeah.
Hey, we had a question and I kind of answered it on Twitter, but someone wanted to know how many days we can play the beta. Does it end on the 10th?
Yeah, I think it goes for that. That's something I don't know. But I think it goes for about a week or so.
Yeah.
Or a little bit. Again, I'm not entirely sure. I just want to say I'm reading some of the things on the chat here about people saying like the game's being stripped down. It's not, honestly. It really isn't, and it's not like, you know, EA. To be honest with you, this isn't like EA forcing anything on DICE. This is Daniel Matros and his vision, and not even Daniel Matros, but just the vision of competitive gaming. You have to understand, as a caster, as someone who commentated PlanetSide 2, which is probably one of the most difficult games to commentate, it's very, very hard, and people just don't give a crap if there are a lot of people on the battlefield. They just don't care. There's just nothing there for them to attract themselves to. But if it's small form teams within bigger, you know, groups, bigger teams, that stuff works out. You have to think about it like this. What they're doing, it's not affecting Battlefield 4. They've been working on Battlefield 4 for so long now that the things that they are doing here are not affecting the core BF4 gameplay. It's just another thing to enjoy. And I will never understand a person's gripe with having more options to enjoy a game a different way. Because you know what? The truth is, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to like playing with vehicles all the time. I just avoid vehicles as much as possible. It's cool, don't get me wrong, but I love the gunplay in Battlefield. Like, that's why I play the game. It's fun as hell.
I agree with you.
You know? And I don't, again, that's my view. And there are going to be a lot of people who share that same view that I do. And there are a lot of people who enjoy the view of, you know, hey, let's play with some vehicles. I mean, fuck, I'll play with a tank, you know, like, don't get me wrong. But if I had to experience a competitive atmosphere, if I were in a tournament, the last thing I would want is a tank in my game. It's the last thing I would want. But again, everyone's going to have their vision on it. I would just say play the wait and see approach. Be optimistic. Be cautiously optimistic, if you will. There's good stuff. There's good stuff there. I believe in it, and I don't, you know, throw my support behind something that I don't believe in. And I truly believe that this is going to work out not only for the core audience that loves the large scale matches, but you're going to get them, you know, in force, but also for that audience that just loves competitive gaming too. There's just a lot of cool stuff there.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Yeah, I'm stoked. I know Chris, this is not his forte, so to speak, but I think he's a perfect example of a person who is interested in it, who thinks it's cool. But I think with these kind of advances and how Dice is going to handle it, and even that little BF4 esports coalition that a couple of us are a part of, and that's trying to help build ideas and concepts to really make this a big deal. I think that's the goal, is to get guys like Chris who are like, oh, this is kind of cool. I'd watch it. I like sports. I like competition. Let's watch it. Let's have some fun, And I think that's the next step. But yeah, man, we really appreciate all your feedback on this, and like it's something we can look back on, and maybe we can look back on this podcast and think, okay, did this is how it did it work like this? Did it work the way we envisioned it, that we thought it was going to? So hopefully we can come back and revisit this at another point and be like, yeah, this, and everything pretty much panned out the way we wanted it to. But before we kind of shut this all down and let everybody go about their Sundays and go back to watching football, what are you doing? I mean, what are you doing now? I mean, between the launch and even post-launch of Battlefield, I mean, what is Goldenboy? What is the Goldenboy brand, quote unquote? What are you doing? What are your next projects? Where are you going from here, man?
Yeah, so obviously casting a lot. I'm gonna be doing a pretty, just a cool interactive BF4 beta live stream when that goes live. It's gonna be the console version, I'm sorry, but it's gonna be fun either way. Also, just kind of just like working on YouTube. I mean, it's an audience that I'm really trying to understand, because YouTube's a beast,
Good luck
and
with
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty tough. But it's fun. I view everything as a fun little journey, and whether it leads to bigger and better things, I'm always game for it. But it's just a matter of seeing where the audience is, what people want to see. I am trying to, not divert myself away from Call of Duty more, but just expand my horizons a bit more, and not try and limit myself to just being, Alex Mendez, Goldenboy FTW, the Call of Duty guy. I don't want that. As much as I enjoy Call of Duty, I am a gamer at heart. I love video games in general, and I just never want to limit myself in that regard. So, there's a lot of cool stuff there. And what else am I doing? I mean, that's mainly it. Just working on my own things now. Have some business stuff proposed, perhaps, but not really anything that's worth talking about. And we'll see. But yeah, just follow me on Twitter, GoldenBoyFTW. That's where you can get like all the information that I do, and when I'm working on Battlefield 4 stuff as well. So all that stuff will be there.
Cool, dude. Awesome. So, Chris, take us away. Finish off the show for us, and call it a day.
Yeah, basically, I'm glad we are finally back. This is the 5th iteration of DRMB. Pumped to have Squid on the podcast. Alex, you're an excellent first guest. For anyone who hasn't checked out the site or hasn't checked it out in a while, totally rebuilt. Videos, images, articles, everything to do with Battlefield, whether it's BC2, Battlefield 1, 1942, it doesn't matter. We're all about Battlefield. I've got big things planned for BF3. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Cheap Shark Games. If you check out cheapshark.com, you guys can set up reviews or set up price alerts for your games, any PC games you want. It'll email you when the price drops. It's a really cool thing. So check that out, and thank you guys for watching. And I really appreciate Darren Mooney for hosting the stream again. If anybody wants to check out him, Darren Mooney.
Yeah,
on
leave
Twitter.
us feedback on that so we can make it better.
Yeah,
So.
it worked really well. So thanks again for watching, guys.
Take it easy, guys.